Take a moment to imagine a world without forests. No cooling shade on a hot day, no bird songs in the morning, no timber for our building of our houses and homes, no herbs for our medicine. Forests are more than landscapes. They are providers because they provide us the food, the shelter, and things we need. They are protectors because they protect us from environmental hazards. And they are healers because they provide us herbs for our medicine. I am Dr. Onyekachi Chukwu. I will be taking you on this course, Basic Forestry. And we will be looking at the following outlines: Preamble, definition of forestry, brief history of forestry, Forestry Education, modern and contemporary forestry. Please, if you're just joining this channel, kindly subscribe to this channel so that you can always be getting notification each time I drop a new video. You can as well share to anybody you feel that will need this knowledge. Forests are more than trees and shrubs. They are backbone of the Earth's ecosystem. They provide us the air that we breathe, the water we drink, and the resources we rely on a daily basis. I can tell you that everybody on the earth uses one forest product or services. It will be almost impossible that you don't use forest products or forest service daily. Beyond the ecological importance, forests inspires wonders and stories that connect generations, especially in Africa, where we are connected, our history, our culture are connected to forests. Likewise, other areas or other parts of the world. Like I said before, take a moment to imagine a forest or a world without a forest, without those wonderful things that forest does. The cooling and the shading from the sun, the forest products and services. Just imagine, just close your eyes for a moment to just imagine a world without a forest, how this world would look like without the forest. In many countries like Nigeria, forest and wildlife holds not just ecological value, but cultural and economic significance. In our country, Nigeria, most of our cultures are tied to the forest, and forests, before the oil boom, was one of the major source of export, major source of food, major source of livelihood. And it continues to be source of food, export, and livelihood to many people within the country. Now let's look at the definition of forestry. Forestry can be defined as the science, art, and practice of managing forested areas to meet the desired goals, needs, and values sustainably. Please mark the word sustainably, because we're going to come back to this word sustainably. Now, in a broader sense, it is the art, science, and practice of studying and managing forested lands, plantation, and associated natural resources. Also mark this word associated natural resources, because before now, when we talk of forestry, so many people, their mind goes to trees. And I'm here to tell you that it's beyond just trees to also associated natural resources like water, like wasteland, and so on. that are found within the forest, primarily for harvesting timber, but also for conservation and recreational purposes. Before now, timber harvesting was the major activity in forestry. But recently, and even before now, you find out that forestry have evolved just like every other field, to concern other issues, solving other societal issues, like the issue of climate change, where forestry is in the forefront in climate change mitigation, helping in conserving the environment, helping in taking in carbon dioxide and giving us oxygen that we need as men, as humans, so for conservation and recreational purposes. Mostly forests also play part in tourism, where people go for recreational activities. Forestry is also related to silviculture. Of course, silviculture is a branch of forestry which involves the growing and tending of forests. Forestry involves these three things: production. Please mark production, because when we talk of production, we are talking of planting and maintenance of forest products, distribution, and consumption. So you can see that forestry, all production, distribution, and consumption are economic activities. They are chains in economics. So forestry is involved in production, the distribution of forest products and services, and the consumption of forest products and services. Now let's look at the history of forestry. Forestry's history dates back thousands years, from the account of Islam and Christianity and other religion. Man was created, and even other things were created within a forest, and for instance, in the ancient time, forests were primary source of shelter, fuel, and tool for human civilization. Forest was providing the ancient man the shelter, the firewood he uses for cooking as energy, the firewood he uses during the harmattan to cool his to create heat for his environment, the tools he used in farming like the hoe, the rake, and so on, were all products from the forest. Forests were heavily logged for temple construction. Right from time, man has been a religious entity. So back in the days and up till now, the construction of temple, they use forest products, and shipbuilding. Of course, we move from one place to another, either through road, through air, or through water. But then it was through road and through water. And in moving through road, construction of ship, construction of boats, and so on and so forth, where we use forest products from the forest largely for that. Okay, and in Europe, the royal forests were designated for hunting and timber extraction as early as the 17th century. In Africa, indigenous communities practice forest conservation through sacred groves. If you go to many African communities, villages, you will see that we culturally conserved a particular forest, either in the name of an evil forest, in the name of a holy forest, in the name of sacred forests or sacred groves. These are traditional way or cultural way of conserving a forest for both cultural and spiritual reasons. Now, the history of forestry in Nigeria. The development of forestry in Nigeria began with the reservation of forest lands to manage and maintain forest reserves. Forest lands were actually reserved and mostly for steady supply of timber. Like I said earlier, the reservation, early foresters were doing it for mostly timber production. In the late 18th century or 1800, the colonial government initiated and established forest reserves, in Nigeria. And in 1900, we had over 970 kilometer square area of forest reserves. In 1930, we had over 30,000 kilometer square. And in 1970, we had over 993,000 kilometer square of area reserved as a forest reserve, and predominantly in the Savannah region. This development highlights the three distinct phases of evolution of forest resource management in Nigeria. And I want us to look at this evolution of forest management in Nigeria. The first phase was the reservation phase, which spanned between the 1899 up to the 1930. Lands were kept, areas were reserved for forests and forestry activities. And from 1930 to 1960, before our independence, it was called the exploitation phase, where these forests that had been reserved were exploited either for export, for food, for shelter, for timber, and so on and so forth. And of course, from 1960 to the present day, we're supposed to be in the developmental phase. However, in recent time, it seems that the exploitation phase is reoccurring because recently we discovered that many state governments de-reserve and convert forest lands into real estate. This is a discussion for another day. I think we're going in one of the lectures, we're going to talk about the Land Use Acts of Nigeria, the land law of Nigeria, because the law in Nigeria vested the power of ownership of the land in the hands of the state government. And each time you have one state governor or the other, he will come with his own policy and thereby de-reserving. Though we will still have state governors that try to reserve, but they are not much compared to the ones that are turning forest estates into real estates. Now let's look at forestry education. Forestry education, of course, in the world started or dated up to the 17th century. In 1778, a course of study in forestry was formally added to the curriculum for university in the Holy Roman Empire. In 1785, a Master School of Forestry was established by Cotta and his father, and within that time they established several Master School of Forestry. And I don't know, you might be hearing the famous Cotta Master School, And in 1798, the Waldorf Forest Institute was established in Germany. And formal education in forestry began in 1820s with the National School of Forestry in France and the Cotta Master School in Germany. In Africa, forestry education began around that 1920s to 1930. The training started with the German Master School system, which is like the learning under a master, and gradually that developed into formal forestry education. In Nigeria, forestry technical education started in 1939 with the establishment of School of Forestry in Zaria, and in the same year the school was moved to More Plantation in Ibadan. As of 1941, the Federal School of Forestry was the only higher institution, providing forestry education in sub-region of Africa. And in 1954, the Department of Forestry Research was established to conduct forestry research, and its status was changed to Forest Research Institute of Nigeria in 1977, which is the FRIN. And of course, with the changing of status to a Forest Research Institute, that gave the FRIN opportunity to extend its tentacles, and increase their ability to conduct forestry research. In the 1960s, the university level program, such as the Department of Forestry, was first established in the University of Liberia in 1955, and in 1963, our own premier university, the University of Ibadan, established the Department of Forestry, which provided the professional needs in forestry. And in 2018, Chukwu et al. Reported about a total of 59 higher institutions providing degree and certificate related program in Nigeria, among which 33 of these institutions were universities and 25 were colleges of forestry through polytechnics. Now the number have tremendously increased, because almost every federal university now, have a Department of Forestry. Some domicile in the Faculty of Agriculture, some in the Faculty of Environment, some as in the Faculty of Renewable Natural Resources. Now, let's look at modern and contemporary forestry, and we will end this class with this topic. Now, there are new fields. In 1960s, we saw the emergence of urban forestry as a specialty, because forestry have several specialties, and these specialties keep increasing every day. This urban forestry was due to the issue of the Dutch elm disease. Then the Dutch elm disease is a disease that attack the water conducting vessels of a tree, thereby killing the tree. This led to a greater focus on the trees within the city. We have environmental movement where we have several non-governmental organizations, intergovernmental organizations. There's increased public leisure time and growing environmental consciousness, that led to greater demands for forest recreation and so on and so forth. There's also scientific revolution. Forestry began to incorporate more holistic and ecological approach with a focus on principles like conservation, sustainability, and the role of forests in providing wide range of goods and ecosystem services. I earlier said we should mark the word sustainability. Sustainability is a way whereby you use a particular resources without depriving the future generation of the opportunity to use same resources. So forestry the need for sustainability, the need for conservation. Conservation is a wise use of forest resources, the need for protection, whereby we protect areas like the national parks, where you are not allowed to cut trees or kill animals. Okay, so several things, okay, started several demands, which made which became like a scientific revolution. Forestry started applying several holistic methods, okay, and recently forestry has been noticing areas like forest biometrics, which involve the use of mathematical statistics. It has also grown to the use of machine learning, artificial intelligence is solving forestry problem. Okay, like areas like forest biotechnology, and areas like remote sensing and geographic information system, areas like forest information technology, and so on and so forth. This is where we'll draw the curtain for today's lecture. If you are just at this point, would crave your indulgence to subscribe to this channel, so that you always get notification each time I drop lectures or tutorial on forestry related topic. Okay, you can also share to anybody who you feel will want this or will need this knowledge. I hope that this lecture opens possible ways for the researcher and the industry to further study this area or this field and make applications. Thank you for your audience. Thank you for your audience, and I'll see you in another episode. Thank you. I am Dr. Onyekachi Chukwu.